government took the decision that youth development must reside in the presidency and that the minister and deputy minister for planning, monitoring and evaluation should politically head such efforts, as well as oversight of the NYDA and of the entirety of government in terms of youth development, mainstreaming, and so forth and so forth. As the presidency, we have as our view that youth development must cut across all government spheres, the private sector, and NGOs and CBOs. That is why this consultative process that we'll be undertaking is crucial, because through it we intend to mobilize the nation as a whole behind youth development. Just like the National Development Plan, the National Youth Policy can only succeed if it has the full support of the whole of society or of the majority of our people. The drafting of this National Youth Policy is against various historical backgrounds, the most immediate being the policy regime it seeks to replace, which is the National Youth Policy 2009-2014 that expired last year. In spearheading youth development, South Africa operates within international obligations such as those of SADC, the AU, and the United Nations. The UN emphasizes the need for youth-specific country policies and strategies that aim at enabling young people to make the right choices, protect them from exploitation and neglect, and ensure that their participation in all spheres of society. South Africa is heeding the call and once again is embarking on a process of developing a youth policy. This policy, which will be ready in 3 months' time, must respond to youth challenges, must be evidence-based, inclusive, and must shape young people as agents of change, and not just as passive recipients of government services, but as architects of their own future. And as we always say, our responsibility as government is not to give young people a hand out, but a hand up and an opportunity to to construct their own future. This youth policy that the youth will be developing through their inputs is not an add-on to the National Development Agenda. It is the National Development Agenda composite to the NDP. In fact, any plan, any program, and any policy of government that does not speak to the needs, interests, and aspirations of young people, who are the majority in terms of our population, is not worthy of being called a South African policy. As we have indicated earlier, it would be futile to define youth development outside the mainstream, as it would be repeating the mistakes that saw the NYDA being created as a distant mini government. Now, what are the priority areas for the National Youth Policy 2020? Through the initial research we've undertaken, we've identified 4 priorities for the National Youth Policy 2020, which are enabling economic participation, facilitating skills development, which speaks to quality and access, reducing mobility and mortality due to risky behavior, and facilitating a South Africa where young people in particular will practice leadership and be more conscious of the things they have in common than their differences.